Welcome to another episode of Birthing Beyond 35. I'm your host, Hayley Burns. After losing her fiancé tragically, only 150 days out from their wedding, a then 34-year-old Brisita spiraled into a world thinking her hopes of one day having a family were over. Joining me from Melbourne, Australia, Brisita shares how she coped with not only the loss of her fiancé, but the loss of what she thought her life would be.
I just said to her, I just feel like my life is over. Like I can't see myself ever getting married or having children, and I don't know what to do with my life now. And she just stopped, and she was just like, "You're 34." And I was just like, yeah, and I was just like, this is my last chance to have children. And, it was very upsetting. And,
I get it. It's easy to feel that in that moment when, women are at that age, you think, because you do the timeline. You go, well, I'm not just going to meet someone tomorrow. You don't just meet someone and fall in love with them and they love you and they want to marry you and they want to have a kid with you. Like you have this, it's hard to think of a positive outcome.
Absolutely. You date other people along the way as well, it's just like you're not going to find the person straight away. It's just all those things. I'm like, how long is this going to take?
Fast forward a few years and we are now able to discuss the joy of Brisita having her first baby when she was 38 after meeting and marrying her husband Lachlan. Brisita, now 40, is set to give birth to her second baby due when she'll be 41. This is truly a story filled with both pain and appreciation, reminding us all you never really know where life will lead you and to always, always have hope. Joining me now is Brisita. She's based in Melbourne. Very excited to talk to you, Brisita. We have some really inspiring topics to go over and experiences you've had. But before we get into all of that, why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself and how you met your husband?
Okay, well, great to be here. Thanks, Hayley. My name's Brisita. I am 40 years old. I'm about to turn 41 I think it's 2 weeks. I'm 41. So, and my husband, I met him through church, actually. So I just moved from one side of the country to the other side of the country. Mm-hmm. And I just went to church one day, and he was one of the first people I met. Mm-hmm. And we just became friends. We were friends for about a year, and then we're both quite interested in each other. And so we started dating, and we didn't date for very long. We only dated for around, oh goodness, I think it was just over a year before we got married. So, I think when you know, you know. So,
I was just going to say that when you know.
Yeah. So, and we were really good friends before we started dating. So I think it made life easier for us just to kind of know we could be best friends forever. So it was fantastic, as cheesy as that sounds. But yeah, I work on the online space, and I have a 18-month-old daughter, and I have another one on the way that's due in April. So another girl due in April.
Amazing. And you'll be 41 then, correct?
I will be 41 when I have my second baby.
Love. And how old were you when you had your first? And sorry, what's her name?
So Lily is my first, and she was born in July 2022. So I was 39. Mm-hmm. Yeah, 39.
Well, congratulations. That's super exciting that you do have a second little baby on the way. I do know, though, that prior to meeting your current husband, you experienced a tragedy a few years ago.
I did, yeah. So when I was 34, and I think I'd been single for quite a good time. Like, I was pretty fussy. I wasn't someone who was super I can't wait to get married and have babies and things like that. So I focused more on my job. And then I eventually met this man. His name was Tristan. And we dated, we got engaged. And then it was I was 150 days before our wedding, I remember. And he passed away very suddenly. And it was a massive shock. It was a massive shock to the system. And we talked about, we getting married and having children. And I mean, just even like the day before he died, we were talking about our future children and what our plans were for our family. And the fact that I was 34 and felt that I needed to kind of get started on family straight away. And so very much we had those plans to have children, and to not wait too long, because, so many people tell you don't wait too long. And so we had these plans, and then he died. And it was just the most gut-wrenching, horrible experience. I don't even know if there's really are words to express how hard it is to lose that person that you thought you were going to spend the rest of your life with. And then it's not just the loss of him. It was also the loss of those plans that you had for the future, the wedding that you envisioned, and the marriage, and the home, and the children, and, what your life would look like, and, the retiring together and traveling together, and all of those things that you look forward to in relationship, and you look forward to in marriage. And they were all just taken away just very suddenly. And so it was just this horrible, horrible season of loss and a lot of hopelessness, just feeling very, very hopeless and incredibly uncertain about the future. So just a real sense of loss, and not sure how I was going to get through it, and what the future was going to look like now. And I guess relevant to what we're talking about today, being 34 years old, and part of what I thought about, in the months after he died, was how am I going to have children? Because I'm 34. If I don't meet, it's going to take time to move forward. And if I don't meet somebody, and
we have this timeline in our head of
exactly.
Well, by the time I meet someone, then I won't get pregnant for this amount of time. So then I'm going to be 37, 38. And
exactly.
Thinking the worst.
Exactly. So how am I going to, it was almost like it was like a death sentence for me. Like it was just like those dreams of, like family and things that I had become very comfortable with Tristan, were suddenly also just ripped out of my existence and ripped out of my hands, and coupled with immense grief of losing him. It was this immense grief of losing what I thought my future would look like.
1000%. Yeah, mourning all of these visions that you had of your life. I know prior to this chat today, you'd mentioned, seeing an OB, and you kind of being 34, 35, and this OB was very much on the positive side of saying, you've got so much time. Can you talk a little bit about that?
It was actually a GP that I saw, just a GP that I went and saw after Tristan had passed away. I obviously was I had what was called situational depression. So not like an ongoing depression, but just, obviously in a very bad state. Circumstantial, yeah, that's right. Circumstantial depression. And so I had to go see a GP to get a referral to see a psychologist. And I journeyed with a psychologist a lot, over the coming years, since Tristan passed. So it was really important to process the grief in a healthy way. And so I just went to see her about a referral, and she's just this GP that was so random. Like she didn't, I'd never seen her before. I haven't seen her since. And I just couldn't get in with my regular GP. So went and saw her, and I just said to her, I just feel like my life is over. Like I can't see myself ever getting married or having children, and I don't know what to do with my life now. And she just stopped, and she was just like, you're 34. And I was just like, yeah. And I was just like, this is my last chance to have children. And, it was very upsetting.
No, I get it. It's easy to feel that in that moment when, women are that age. You think, because you do the timeline. You go, well, I'm not just going to meet someone tomorrow. You don't just meet someone and fall in love with them and they love you and they want to marry you and they want to have a kid with you. Like you have this, it's hard to think of a positive outcome.
Absolutely. You date other people along the way as well. It's just like you're not going to find the person straight away. It's just all those things. I'm like, how long is this going to take? So I just said to her, I just feel like it's over. And she said, she looked at me really shocked, and she was just like, a lot of women have babies in their 30s. Like, what are you talking about? And I just said, like, 34. And she was also, just stop listening to what the media tells you about when you can have a baby. She's like, most women are having babies in their 30s now. Just let that be your new narrative. And then she said, how about, like, look at your life over the last 5 years and everything that has happened and everything has changed. Like, you've changed careers, you've met, like, you've dated people, it hasn't worked out, but you met someone that you fell in love with, you got engaged, you planned a future. And yes, like, you're in a low now, but what's not to say that in the next 5 years, all of those things can't happen for you again. She said, like, 5 years is a long time. So just, she was like, don't stress about it. Just, if good things happen to you in the past, there's nothing saying that good things can't happen to you in the future and turn this around for you. And it just gave me a really fresh perspective, like a really new way to think about it. Because I think when you're in moments of whether it's losing your partner, but also, losing a boyfriend, like going through a bad breakup or a divorce or something along those lines, you can feel very fatalistic about it. But there is always hope. And I think that there is always opportunities to start again and start afresh. And I think she really showed me that by saying those things.
Yeah, I mean, and also, I guess, she's not a friend or a family member, so it's just someone who is just so, like, unobservant of your life and what you're going through, who just made, like, just a factual statement from her point of view. You don't feel it when you're in it.
Nope.
I just, the older I get, I look back and I go, oh my God, like, what did I even know back then? Like, still so young and still so much life ahead. But
absolutely,
sorry all of that happened to you. Yeah, I can't even begin to imagine. But so you meet Lachlan, life changes. Tell us how you began to, talk about having a baby.
Yeah, so I think, again, it was I met Lockie, and I think it was always, that sort of question over my age. It's always there. I think it's kind of inescapable. And it's not just, I don't think it's something that you just process yourself. I think a lot of people have opinions about it. Do you know what I mean? It's like, oh, you're over the age of 35. Or I met Lockie when I was 37. So, you're 37 years old. Like, what's going on there? Like, are you going to be able to have children? And I think that's a question that kind of, like, pops up for people, whether they say it or not. And some people have actually said it to me. So it was always a sort of question mark for us. And Lockie's just an amazing guy. I'm just incredibly lucky to have found him. And, even in his wedding vows, he said, I can't wait to start a family with you, no matter what that looks like. So we always knew, I think we always felt, but not knew, but we felt that there was a possibility that we wouldn't be able to have children because of my age, and because of what people had told us about, like, it's just, you're too old. Once you're over 35, that's it. It's all done.
And who are these people? Are they just, friends and family?
Friends, family, media, like, just people. It's out there. Yeah. So, oh my goodness, yeah, it's so out there.
I have sorry to interject, but yeah, I remember I have two instances in my life when I was 37. I was leaving Sydney and moving back to the States. I'd left a really good job, and it was kind of like my farewell drinks, and I had a coworker, and she was like maybe 24, and she was like, Hayley, have you ever thought about, settling down? Because here I was, 37, uprooting my life again to move across the other side of the world for my career. And I was just like, oh my God, I was just thinking, how narrow-minded can you be that, like, that I need to just be, quickly go and get married to someone straight away. And another instance, I was 36 at the time, and I'd moved back from the States to Sydney, and my cousin, he was like, "Cuz, are you ever going to, like, settle down?" I was just like, oh my God, just these, like, people that, they're, the way they look at life is you get married and you have kids straight away. Yes. And that's fine. And I get it. But just because someone else is doing something different with their career and they're chasing another ambition or passion, they can't fathom that. And those are just two key moments in my life. And I'm just like, oh my God, like, chill the fuck out.
It's really interesting just how I think society in general, I guess we just call it society, just puts pressure, I think, on women to fit this mold that I just thought we like it's 2024. Like, are we not beyond this now? Like, it's what is it? Just like, is that it? Is my role just to kind of get married one day and have children, and then I've achieved what my purposes in life? And I don't think that's what it is. I don't think life is that simple or also that boring. I think there's just such beautiful juiciness and complexity to life in the world, and there's so much more than. I really value marriage and children. Like, it's been really significant for me. But it's not the be all and end all. Like, so it is interesting how people hold that as such an important thing for women, and still in this day and age.
Yeah. So you obviously you've got a baby, so we know you got pregnant. So you're about 38 then, I believe, when you had your first pregnancy.
So I was 30. Yeah, I was 38 when I first got pregnant. And we got pregnant pretty quickly. So that was a nice surprise. Mm-hmm. But honestly, the panic, Hayley, was just out of this world for me. So I remember we started trying and we got pregnant, I think, 2 months later. But in that first month of trying, I wasn't pregnant like after the first month. So I immediately booked us in to go and see someone about IVF. I was like, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
We're booking
I'm
in.
broken.
Yeah. So I'm like, I'm too old. My eggs are too old. And so I booked us in for an appointment with a IVF doctor. And we got in and we saw her, and immediately first thing she said to me was just like, why are you here? Like, it was just and it was crazy. Like, we walked in and her office was covered like floor to ceiling in photos of babies that she had been a part of, like, the journey of coming into the world. And it was so hope-filling for me. Like, it was just like, wow, like, this is possible. But she basically laughed us out of the office and just said, just go home and have sex. Like, that was just her advice. And my husband loved that. So, so we were like, great. So, and we got pregnant the next month. So that was pretty quick pregnancy. And then we unfortunately lost the baby at 10 weeks. So,
what was your mindset there? You were panicked. Then you've had this horrific news. How'd you go?
I feel like I just immediately went back to, it's because you're old. So it was devastating. It was so hard, and it just felt so unfair. And it felt really cruel, I think, considering that I had gone through all of that with my fiance that died. And then to have experienced like another really significant loss. And it was just like, that's not fair. Like, it's just, surely I've been through enough, So it was really hard to kind of navigate that as well.
How did you navigate it? Did you go into protection mode where you're like, no, well, I'm just going to accept that we can't have kids? Or were you like, okay, let's just take a break? How did you navigate that time?
I think the first instinct was to blame my age. Like, the first instinct was to blame my age because that's what people say. And
even though many people experience miscarriages being 22, 25.
Exactly. Yeah. And so this is where it was like about getting perspective. So I, told some people at work that I'd had a miscarriage, and then people just started coming out of the woodworks, like women who were in their 50s and who were just like, hey, like, I had a miscarriage when I was like 21. I had a miscarriage when I was 25. I had a miscarriage between my pregnancies, or my wife had 3 miscarriages, and we have like 3 healthy kids now. They're all adults. And people were just coming out of the woodworks, like just sharing with me their stories about miscarriage, their stories about like falling pregnant again, and just saying like, I've got 2 healthy girls in high school, and just saying like, don't let that define what you've been through. And people just saying to me, like, I had a girl that I kind of know, who's a midwife, and she just was talking about her experience of miscarriage over Instagram. And she was, I messaged her about it, and I just said, hey, like, I experienced a miscarriage like recently, and she was like, look, women, she's like, I help deliver babies all the time for women in their 30s. Like, it's not, in their 40s. She's just like, it's your life. It's not a life sentence, that you're this age. And it's just like, miscarriages just happen. So it was really encouraging, I think, to hear those stories and to bolster myself up with hope of like other people regaining, regaining their story back in a lot of ways, I guess, and pushing through. And it just gave me hope. I think hearing other people's stories gave me hope. So
100%. I mean, that's the whole And that was it for me. Like when I was pregnant and being older, like all I sought was like things like this podcast. All I sought was wanting to see women who are older having safe pregnancies and babies. And so that's like the whole reason why I started this. Cause I was like, I was like, this is like 2021 when I was pregnant. I was like, I'm hell bent that once I'm out of this postpartum and everything, I'm going to start a podcast and get the message out there, because that's all I'd do. I would like search Instagram hashtags. I would search Apple Podcast, like typing in, advanced maternal age, trying to find. I just wanted to hear positive stories, and there just weren't many out there. But anyway, but back to you. So how long after that miscarriage did you fall pregnant?
So we fell pregnant. We started trying again. I think 2 months later, and then we fell pregnant like 2 months after that. So again, quick
amazing
pregnancy. And then 9 months later, or how many days later, it was we delivered a very healthy little girl called Lily. So
how did you feel when you fell pregnant that second time? What was your you obviously said you were panicked during the first time. What were you like the second time?
Haley, I was so nervous. I was just like so nervous about just losing another baby. I just cannot go through another grief season. Like it's just I've been through enough. So I was very, very nervous. But again, it was just doing that research that you talked about as well. Like, I would just find documentaries about like women having birth at different ages and find things on Instagram, like read like just Googling articles and stuff, and just filling myself up with stories of hope, just like this is possible. It's not it's not impossible. It's possible. People do this, and you can be one of those people. So so I just tried to focus on that and focused on the good things that could come. And I just had a really good pregnancy. I was really surprised at how easy the pregnancy was. In the last month I did end up developing preeclampsia. And I think I had that for 2 weeks before she was born. So so it wasn't terrible though. It was very manageable, and it was a really good thing. So I was nervous through the pregnancy, but I really didn't want to kind of just have that fear robbed me of the joy of being pregnant. So that was a really big thing for me as well, like not focusing on being afraid and not focusing on being nervous, but just
trying to be in the now and just
be in the present. And just even things like I was like, oh, do I tell people I'm pregnant? And I was like, no, I'm going to enjoy every second of this. I'm going to post it on Instagram, and I'm going to buy baby things, and I'm going to like just really get into it and enjoy it.
You get into this I know I did. You get into this whole like I don't want to jinx anything.
Yes.
So what was your childbirth like?
It was great. So I ended up having a C-section because of I really didn't want an induction. I actually wanted a C-section. No, I really wanted a C-section. Like I was quite terrified of birth. And I'm very small. So I think, and my mum is also small. My mum was just like, that baby's going to break you in half if you don't get it like C-section. So she had only had C-sections. That had only been my experience of someone close to me having children. So it just felt safer for me. And calmer for me. And it was honestly the most amazing, incredible experience. I'm all for like women who have natural births. I'm like heroes in my book. I'm like, wow, amazing. And I think that, for me, this was like the best option. And it was wonderful. Like I just had, like music playing, and it was very relaxed, and it was very peaceful and calm. I felt just very safe the whole time. And and then she was born. I just remember like them pulling her out and me just like sort of looking over the cloth that they put up, and I saw her foot, and then I heard her cry, and I just, oh my goodness, I just couldn't believe it. That I was here, and that I'd come to this point in my life where I'd had a baby. Like it just felt so impossible at times, Haley, that I would come to that place, and here we are. With something that's beyond my wildest dreams. So it was incredible. Yeah.
How was your postpartum phase?
It was great. Like it was a lot better than I thought it would be. I think it really strangely enough, like I think because I'd gone through such extreme tragedy and in that tragedy where Tristan died, like I really struggled to sleep at night, and and had to kind of like work through a lot of emotions. And so when I had Lily, she's waking me up in the middle of the night for feeding, I was like, well, I've woken up in the middle of the night in the past for worse things than this.
Yeah. Perspective.
Yeah, it was so much gratitude.
Yeah, be grateful you got a baby waking you up. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was just so grateful. Like I was just so grateful. And I definitely had all those hormones. Like I think at the time I was like, no, I'm fine. This is great. And I look back now and I'm like, man, you were crazy for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Like actually crazy.
Well, again, yes, on Instagram and on social media these days, postpartum depression and anxiety is more accepted and stuff, but still like in the day-to-day of like, Auntie May coming over, you're not going to tell when you're struggling. You just go, yeah, everything's fine. And
yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Unfortunately.
It is. Yeah. And it was, I wouldn't say that I had a very typical experience in my postpartum. Like I actually did find it quite, I don't know, just quite simple in a lot of ways, which I know is not everyone's experience. So I want to be sensitive to that. But I think, for me, I think gone through a real depths of tragedy just gave me a different perspective in going through something that was actually probably really hard. But I don't know, I'd faced challenges before of sleeplessness, and I'd faced challenges before of like just feeling out of control with emotions. And I think I'd developed a lot of coping mechanisms through that support with a psychologist and everything like that before. And I actually after I had the miscarriage, I actually saw a psychologist again before, so during my pregnancy with Lily, I saw a psychologist. And so I think I had like a lot of coping strategies for that postpartum period, which was like really, really helpful for me. So I really recommend it. Like if you can get in touch with somebody who focuses on pregnancy and like just counseling or psychology or anything like through that, I just found that a really valuable way to set me up really well for that postpartum period.
It's amazing. So you mentioned Lily is now 18 months and you're currently pregnant again. How far along are you at the moment?
So I'm 6 months along.
Okay, wow. So I'm trying to do math here. So Lily was she would just turned a year and you fell pregnant, correct?
Yeah, so she was 1.
Had you guys planned it, or did you have a scheme or a plan for what you wanted to do if you wanted a second child, or did it just happen?
Yeah, so I think for us, we wanted our children, we were having another girl at the time, but we wanted our kids to be around the same age. So I really love working. I didn't want to take too much time out from work. So, just wanted them to be close in age and kind of get that over with, the sort of the financial side of taking time off work as well. So,
and also I guess like in your head, you're like, well, I'm now 40. Or were you nearing 40? Did that play into your mind?
Yeah, definitely. I wish it hadn't, honestly, Hayley. I mean, after everything that I've just explained, I look back and I'm like, why did you think that way? But no, definitely did. I was just like, don't wait too long for the next one. Otherwise, she might never get a sibling. And so just that sort of little nasty voice was still in my head. And then we just started trying when she turned 1, and we got pregnant straight away, like first month. So of trying. So just first
you were 40, correct?
40 years old. Yeah.
40 and pregnant straight away.
Yeah, straight away. And so it was a bit of a surprise. I honestly thought we had a little bit more time up our sleeves, but no. So,
obviously, you would have been very excited knowing that they're going to be so close in age.
Oh my goodness, so excited and so pumped that we're going to have 2 girls. Like that's really exciting. I didn't grow up with sisters, so I really wanted my daughter to have a sister. So we're really, really excited. We were just pumped. We were surprised at how quick it happened, but really excited for this next one to come in April. A little bit scared. Having like 2 under 2 for a period of time and just so slightly terrified, but very excited.
Yeah, so exciting. So you're 6 months along, but how has it been so far in your journey?
This pregnancy has been even better than the first one. Haven't had any health complications or anything like that. It's been pretty easy. Haven't had any issues with my blood pressure or anything.
Yeah, I was just going to ask if you've been monitoring that or doing anything differently.
Yeah, it's actually a lot better than my first pregnancy. So I think the first pregnancy, I think a lot of the blood pressure was just being stressed about the pregnancy. And also just I had a pretty stressful time at work. And so this time I've just been a lot calmer.
You know what you're doing, and you know that your body has been capable of doing it before. So I guess you got a little bit of peace of mind.
Absolutely. So yeah, just feeling really strong about it. I think it's where it's been tricky is dealing with the with some of the medical professions around this one. But other than that, it's been pretty good. And it's also, I'm just going to say, it's really hard running after a toddler when you're 6 months pregnant. It's
I can't imagine.
So
my girl she's 20 months, and I'm just like,
oh yeah,
stay still. Can we just sit for 2 minutes?
Yeah.
So funny. So sorry, you just touched on there a few some feedback.
So I've had a little bit of difficulty with some of the medical profession.
In regards to what specifically?
Yeah, so I think I just had just concerns about my age being 40, and then things like my weight and the fact that I had preeclampsia at the end of my last pregnancy. So I had a GP who listed it as very high risk. And so again,
just because of your past with the preeclampsia.
And my age.
Currently. Got it.
Nothing currently. And then my blood pressure was I think it was 124 over 95 instead of 120 over 90, or something. It was just so slightly elevated.
Yeah.
Not crazy. So anyway, I saw this GP for a while, and it was just a bit it just felt like rubbish every time I saw her. I was like, my goodness, my baby's going to die.
You couldn't change. You had to
So I was like, I'm going to go see a different GP. I said, I need to get a second opinion. I don't feel
you got to get the
right.
good vibes.
So I went to another GP. She checked my blood pressure, and she was just like, it's fine. It's just and I had been recording my blood pressure for about 2 weeks at this point. And she was just like, this is healthy blood pressure. It's consistently 120, around that, she was like, you're fine. You're doing fine. Don't worry. It's okay. Women have babies when they're older. They're not all 21. So again, it was just really reassuring. And
what you needed at that time, obviously, you needed someone on your side.
Yeah, absolutely. Someone to advocate for you and just kind of give you
not feeling like you're being looked down upon or kind of judged because you waited later in life,
Yeah. And I think my GP that I saw this time around said that to me. She was just waited a bit of time to have a baby, didn't you? And I just feel just being lady, I would have loved to have had a baby.
I've had shit to do, lady.
I'm just and I also had a fiance that died. Excuse me, this wasn't my plan.
Did you say that? Did you say that?
No, I didn't. I was polite about it, but I wish I had. I'll say
just
it
to
here.
see her face. Yeah, just to give her a wake-up call and how she deals with people moving forward.
Yeah, and then I did have a similar experience with a midwife at the hospital who was just kind of questioning having a baby later. And I did tell her, I just said, look, I had a fiance that died. It's not I wanted to wait till I was 40. My plan was to do this earlier. It's just how life panned out. So she felt pretty bad. But other than that, I've had really good experiences with the midwives and the doctors.
So just before we wrap up, you've been there. I've been there. Obviously, a lot of women that are going to be listening to this are perhaps maybe in that space of thinking, it's all over for me. This might not happen. What kind of words of encouragement can you give them?
It's really hard because I think that it can happen for people, but in the same breath, I do know that it can be really hard, and it feels like a mountain that we're climbing as well. So I don't want to be don't worry about it. It'll happen for you, because sometimes it doesn't happen, and we have to readjust the way that we're looking at life and what our hopes and our dreams are. But I think, surround yourself with good stories, surround yourself with good people, hold on to hope, hold on to it with everything that you can. Get good support around you, not just good friends. Go and seek out a counselor or a psychologist to work through some of that fear as well. Get that medical help around you. Go and see, get a good GP, go and see a doctor about it. Go and find out, like where you're at physically as well, with it all. Just really arm yourself with resources. Yeah, and just use that to help bolster up your hope for the future. There is hope. Like women aren't just having babies in their 20s. Women are having babies in their 30s and close to 40, and they're able to do it. And that can be you. That can be your story.
I love that. That's what a beautiful way to end. Thank you so much. I really look forward to following your journey for your second baby. We'll definitely link you on here. But yeah, thank you so much for your time.
No problems. Thanks so much for having me on. And hey, thank you so much for doing this work, Hayley, because I just think it's so important. And I wish that this was around when, just after Tristan had died, when I was just researching everything, being like, is there hope?
Yeah, I mean, I remember 6 months before I felt pregnant, I was just lying in bed at 3 a.m. and, I was engaged at the time and I was thinking, I'm never going to be able to have kids. I was just so in my head and I was like, oh my God, it's crazy. Our minds are crazy. Okay.
It is. Yeah. So good on you. All right.
Thank you.
Bye.